150 years after the landing of the Pilgrims at Plymouth Rock, our first bold settlers crossed the natural barrier of the Appalachian Mountains. They were led by frontiersmen, whose names have become legend. One of these was Daniel Boone. Daniel Boone's father was an English Quaker who settled in the Pennsylvania county of Ole. And Daniel, his sixth son, was born in 1734.
Friend Boone, it has come to the attention of the meeting that thee continue to see certain of thy family who have violated precepts of our order. Indeed, thee did even open thy house to them.
Quite true, sir. I am well aware that the Society of Friends has disowned not only my daughter Sarah, but now my son Israel, because they chose to marry non-Quakers. Worldlings, thee might wish to call them. I still call them children. Is it the sense of the meeting that I shut the door of my house on them?
It is.
By heaven, I shall not.
Then, friend Boone, thee face expulsion from the Society of Friends.
Then I shall leave Ole and seek a community less easily scandalized.
Found there looms a land most profitable. Think of thy other children.
What say thee, Daniel? Thee hear his words?
There are more looms and more lands. I doubt if there are more Sarahs and Israels. This land's fair tired out anyway.
Thus, the Boone family moved to the western part of North Carolina on the Yadkin River, to the frontier settlements known as the back country. Here, the land was cheap and bountiful, and the symbol of a man's ownership was a gash in this country. He learned to clear the land and make it grow. He learned to hunt in it with the friend he knew best, his rifle, old Ticklicker. Boone learned to defend the land, too. For to all settlers, the balmy days following a cold snap meant the return of the Cherokee for one set of winter. That was Indian summer. When Daniel was 21 and the French and Indian War broke out, he was one of the first volunteers to join Major Dobbs' North Carolina troops. His work consisted of hauling supplies. When General Braddock's army was ambushed at Turtle Creek, Daniel escaped by cutting the traces from his horses and galloping out of danger. That night, he met another wagoner who had saved his skin, a trader called John Finley.
Boy, Kentucky's the delectable land. Miles of timber and grass. Land you don't even have to clear. It's just lying there in back of the mountains. Nobody doing nothing with it.
How's the hunting?
No such thing as hunting there. A man just sticks out his foot and bam, 6 deer and 14 buffalo trip right over it.
Does the land grow?
Plant in the morning, by afternoon you got your supper ready and shade trees to boot.
Anybody settle there yet?
Nope.
I think I might take a look at a land like that.
With the war over, Daniel Boone returned to the Yadkin Valley and tried to settle down. He ventured closer to the high wall of the Alleghenies, as if drawn by the magic word Kentucky. But there was one thing which kept drawing him back to the Yadkin. That was a girl, Rebecca Bryan.
Rebecca, I never seen you tan hides.
I can, Daniel, very well.
Grind corn?
Yes?
Tend the fields? You can't mold bullets.
Why not? Just ask my brothers.
Did you ever shoot a turkey?
Huh?
Well, all women are scared of Indians.
I'm not, if I have a gun. And why did you do that, Daniel?
Oh, just thought I'd find out if you were good-natured.
They got married. Daniel Boone managed to settle down and began to raise a family. But the dream of Kentucky never left him. He even went so far as to penetrate its borders. Yet the aftermath of every trip was the mockery of workaday tasks.
Might you know of any backcountry folk in need of needles, pens, sealing wax, or linens?
John Finley, I've been waiting to see you. I sure could have used you last year. That Kentucky was nothing like what you told me.
You must have followed the wrong river, Daniel. Kentucky's the beautiful land, son. Milk and honey and...
Well, we'll talk about that later. Right now, you look as if you could stand something to eat.
Right here, Daniel. Right through this gap, Cumberland Gap.
Yeah, that's the pass all right enough. But can I find it?
You can if I go with you. You must have followed the Holston too far south, Daniel. And the next time, we'll take a little walk along Clinch River. I wouldn't be a bit surprised if we didn't come across the old warrior's path.
Maybe a few warriors, too.
Maybe the buffalo traces. You'll stay out the winter with us, John. Judge Henderson might lend me another stake. He's got western land fever, too. And then, come May...
Come May, Daniel Boone and John Finley left for Kentucky. Daniel's brother-in-law, John Stewart, Joseph Holden, James Mooney, and William Cool accompanied them. Kentucky was everything Finley had promised.
Them buffalo are near here if you want them, Daniel.
we better be getting back to station camp with what we got.
I never seen such a place. In 7 months, I wager we got enough pelts to make us all rich.
Feels good to be out of debt.
It's a funny place, though. In 7 months, never a sign of an Indian.
It's no man's land to them. They keep it for hunting and making war. We'll see 'em yet. There's more than just game down here, I guarantee. Let's get going. We got company, John.
My name, Captain Bill. You call White Mouth by my people. You great hunter. You Shoshone. White man say this land for Indian to hunt. White man not come. You show us camp. We take skins, horses. Leave you food to go back in peace.
The Shawnees took everything. And all but Boone and Stewart became discouraged and set out for home. Suddenly, John Stewart disappeared. For more than a year, only an occasional visit from his brother, Squire Boone, broke Daniel's solitude. In March of 1771, Squire and he started home to the Yadkin, loaded down with pelts.
Hello, Daniel. Glad to see you.
How are you, Judge?
You've got yourself a man now, Daniel.
Yeah, Jamie grew right up, didn't he, Judge?
What's on your mind?
The Cherokee surprised Squire and me at Cumberland Gap. The whole 2 years' catch, gone. So, about that money I owe you, Judge.
Don't mention it. Take all the time you need.
I came to tell you, Judge. I visited the Cherokees again, and they say they'll sell if the price is right. Now's the time, Judge. This is our chance.
As I've told you before, my associates and myself are not at present prepared to underwrite the venture. I'm sorry, Daniel. It'll wait.
Judge Henderson, we Boones are going to sell our farms and everything we can't carry. Rebecca's folks, the Bryants, the 5 other families are convinced that Kentucky's the place, and I'm going to take them there. And you say it'll wait.
Pa and me can take care of a lot of Indians. Pa and me and old Ticklicker.
You mean you wouldn't put your money on a young Boone, Judge? My pa brought me to a better land when I was Jamie's age. I aim to do as much for my boy.
The Boones are too impatient, and perhaps too brave.
And maybe too hungry. You're too slow for my boy, Judge. There'll be one white settlement in Kentucky before you get ready. And James Boone's going to make it.
In September 1773, the small party began its move.
Injuns, Massa Boone. It was Injuns. Massa James didn't know we were so close to your camp. A little before dawn, they fired into us. I run down to the river, hid, and watch. They take Massa James, torture him with knives, till he died.
Daniel, we can't go on.
Son,
They murdered him.
They're on the warpath.
we'll be scalping our sleep.
Let's go home, Daniel.
I'll get a linen sheet, send it to wrap his body in.
We couldn't defend ourselves.
Now listen, all you folk who want land. It takes more than walking and putting down a claim to get it. It takes some fighting, dying. That was my son was killed. But it won't bring him back to turn tail and run. He wanted some of that Kentucky. And I aim to get him some. I'm saying we're for Kentucky.
I'm sorry, Daniel. I'm for turning back
Agreed?
Yes.
Neither tragedy nor war could turn back Daniel Boone. He finally convinced Judge Henderson to meet with the chiefs of the Cherokee Nation to discuss the purchase of 20 million acres of land.
And the Transylvania Company proposes to pay 10,000 pounds in goods to the Cherokee Nation for that country which lies between the Kentucky and Cumberland rivers and the lands nearby watered by the Cumberland River and its tributaries.
Henderson, you want my death?
I wish to buy the land, its miseries and all.
My brother, we give you a fine land, but you will have much trouble in the living of it.
Thus, the Transylvania Company purchased Kentucky, and Daniel Boone staked out the site of Boonsboro, near a salt lick south of the Kentucky River.
Here, you got a parcel of land here, Daniel.
Last August, the company voted me 2,000 acres. And I'm planning to claim myself a heap more.
I think I'll be buying some of this land, if it ain't too expensive.
Oh, even since we've doubled the price, it's cheap for the kind of land it is.
Double the price? Why, if the colonials march again the English, they're gonna send Blackfish's boys right down on your neck. Double the price.
My company bought and paid for Transylvania. We make the laws and set the prices.
Who you think you are, the king? Why you calling this place Transylvania? Still free wilderness to me, and I ain't paying no taxes for it, Henderson.
I paid for this land. The law stands.
If it stays Transylvania.
Boone's prediction came true. And when General Washington led his Continental Army against the Redcoats, Transylvania once more became Kentucky. It was a strange war on the frontier. Not a redcoat showed up. Just the Shawnee, who was paid to keep the settlers in constant trouble. Colonel Daniel Boone led the defense of one of the frontier's major outposts, Boonsboro. Under his leadership, the small, courageous band of settlers withstood the siege of April 1777, driving off the Shawnee warriors of Chief Blackfish. 2 winters later, however, Boone and 27 other men were captured by the Shawnee. Blackfish respected Boone greatly and adopted him for a son. But when spring came and Boone learned of the Shawnees' plan to march on Boonsboro, he knew he had to escape. There were 160 long miles to the fort. He ran a race with time, his feet burning, body aching, his stomach ringing hollow. He had to get to Boonsboro to warn them of Blackfish. It took him 4 days to reach the stockade. Daniel Boone took command and rapidly prepared the small group of settlers for the siege he knew must come. And Blackfish came with 400 warriors. The siege went on for 9 days, the longest siege in border history. Blackfish tried everything. Dug a tunnel, set fire to the fort. Victory was almost in his grasp when the rains came. Put out the fire, washed out the tunnel, and Boonsboro was saved. With the victory of Daniel Boone, Kentucky had passed one of its gravest crises.
You mean none of this ground is ours, Daniel?
I guess I didn't understand the laws, file our claim right. We're in debt for the clothes on our back.
Well, where to now, Daniel?
Figuring on going someplace.
I heard you talking about the Ohio the other day. Don't try to fool me.
That's great hunting country, Rebecca. A man could earn enough there to pay off his debts.
In 1799, at the age of 65, he moved to what is now Missouri. The Spanish authorities gave him land and appointed him magistrate of the district. Late in Daniel Boone's life, many important people came to see him at the home of his son, Nathan. And when he was 85, Chester Harding came to paint the portrait of the almost legendary old colonel.
I had to talk myself blue in the face to get my Louisiana lands back. Some congressman stood up and called me the man who'd opened the way for millions. And then they voted it back to me. What they didn't know was, while I was opening the way, I was really trying to get away from them.
Now, hold still, Pa. Mr. Harding will never finish if you don't hold still.
Mr. Harding, what do you think of a bunch of sons that won't let their old pa go to California?
Colonel Boone, there's one thing I always wondered. When you went on those long hunts and you didn't take a compass, didn't you ever get lost?
I can't say as ever I was lost. I sure was bewildered once for 3 days.
Daniel Boone was 86 years old when he died. He was the wedge that opened the way to new frontiers for America, making it possible for others to follow.